Alright, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Behind the Grind. So, I know I'm a little late to the party when it comes to this specific issue, but I still wanted to give my 2 cents overall, so we're just going to go ahead and dive right in. As you guys already know, last week, the game director for Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 came out and left up to a vote on what we, as the player base, want for contested health recovery. So he goes on to state the obvious with, ranged weapons restoring far too much contested health, while melee weapons restore far too little, and without necessarily going too deep into it, he essentially leaves it up for debate. So, you either want the contested health recovery to be increased for melee, but be reduced for ranged weapons, or you just say, screw it, just keep it the way it is, which, I think is really out of touch, man. I think this is a really bad poll that they released to leave up to the opinion of us as the player base. Granted, you guys already know the player base, at the end of the day, we are the ones who know the best. But when it comes to only two options, whether you keep it the way it is or you nerf ranged weapons, I don't think is really a good solution, right? I think that we should have been able to get more contested health recovery for melee weapons while keeping it the same for ranged weapons. And the reason why I say this is because, the game's already hard as is, right? So, you could still get 1 to 2 shot on absolute difficulty if you are doing a melee class, not necessarily in the terms that, just because you're playing melee, that you're going to be recovering more contested health. Sure, you can buff it, right? But you're still going to be open to attacks, and you can still get knocked back, and your contested health just dwindles down so extremely fast. So only buffing the melee contested health recovery doesn't necessarily fix this issue. Me personally, the way you fix this issue is just by slowing down how fast contested health dwindles down. Shit, not even a game like Bloodborne has your contested health go down that as fast as Space Marine 2, man. That's where the fix needs to be. They simply need to nerf how fast it dwindles down, dude, because as a melee-based player, you're just going to be in and out, right? You're going to strike the enemy, you're going to kill the enemy, and you're going to recover contested health. But still, if you get knocked back by something like a Neurothrope's Blast or a Zoanthrope's Beam, you're still gonna get your contested health dwindled down. And so the game director, in a completely stupid take, just simply says that they can't buff melee contested health recovery as it would make the game too easy, and quote, absolute difficulty is already not particularly punishing, end quote. So I gotta ask the game director himself, what is absolute difficulty then? If it's not punishing, then what is it? Because I have a hard time in absolute difficulty, whether it's at range with the chaos enemies or it's in melee with the Tyranid enemies. I mean, if anything, you guys need to remove how easy it is for the player to be stun locked, because if there's one reason that I die all the time, it's either A, the Zongor Enlightens just kind of throwing their discs at me and screwing me over every single time, or B, it's them goddamn Tyranid warriors with the bone swords that just stun lock you into oblivion and you can't do anything about it. No one's necessarily concerned about range contested health recovery being broken. Yes, we all have a problem with melee health recovery being broken because it just doesn't work, man. A lot of us like to play the melee classes, and if you're trying to do a melee class, especially with a weapon that is extremely slow, just like the Thunderhammer, you guys already know it. There's just no point in doing it because eventually you will go down due to not being able to recover contested health. So my advice to the game director himself, since he's the one who posted this on the internet and thought that this was a good idea and that we would leave this up to a vote, the way you fix this is by either A, reducing how quickly the contested health dwindles down from your health bar, or get this is pretty crazy, you increase contested health recovery for melee and you keep it the same way it is for ranged. Nobody's gonna think that this is gonna make the game particularly easier. The game is punishing enough as is. You can still get sniped from a distance by one of the chaos cultists, or you can get your health dwindled down by one of the Scarable cult terminators with the little miniguns. That's still not going to mean that you're going to rush in all the while taking all these hits, smack them twice with a power sword, and instantly get all your health back. Why? Because the contested health already goes down extremely fast, that by the time you do reach that enemy, your contested health is already gone. So that's why I'm saying you either slow down how quickly your contested health goes away, or you just keep it the same and also buff the melee contested health. What do you guys think on this, man? I don't feel like I'm the only one with this opinion, as the top comment that is on this specific matter is coming from this guy named Sergeant Roarskatch. Sorry if I messed that up, but he says, I genuinely would have voted for ranged health recovery to stay unchanged in addition to melee recovery increasing. But seeing as you explicitly said you won't, I voted for range to be decreased. So you're just giving us no option. Like, these two options is not enough when one of them isn't even an option to begin with, because we are all extremely vocal about how we want a rework. However, you cannot give us an option that simply doesn't change anything. If anything, you should have taken the initiative to just buff the melee contested health recovery and just leave it at that, because at the end of the day, if the game's far too easier, then guess what? Just buff the enemies, given that absolute difficulty apparently is not punishing enough. So with all that being said, go ahead and let me know, guys, what you think on this specific issue. Would you guys rather have it be lowered for ranged weapons and increased for melee, have it increased for melee and keep ranged the same, or do you just want to go ahead and go with the flow of their no, I want contested health recovery to stay the same as it currently is, completely ignoring everyone's complaints about this specific issue? But anyway, that's my 2 cents, man. If you enjoyed the video, please consider leaving a like, subscribe if you are not already. Also, if you wish to support the channel further, I'd encourage you to join the channel membership for $1 today. I appreciate all the support, your guys' generosity. It means the world, and you know, it keeps the channel alive, and I'm so grateful for all the members, and you're extremely appreciated at the end of the day, man. Thank you. But this has been Behind the Grind, talking about how ridiculous this new poll is for Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace!